There were times in my life when I felt like nothing I did was working. I worked hard. I stayed busy. I had goals. But the results just weren't showing up. And if you've ever felt that way, like you're trying, but you keep falling short, then this message is for you. Because failure is exhausting. Not the kind of failure where you try something once and move on. I'm talking about repeated failure. The kind that slowly eats away at your confidence. The kind that makes you question whether you're capable of achieving the life you want. But here's something I discovered after decades of studying success, working with top performers, and rebuilding my own life from nothing. Success is not random, and failure is not permanent. In fact, there is one simple practice, something you can do every single morning that dramatically increases your chances of turning your life around. Not someday, not next year, but starting today. Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly. Have you ever ended a day feeling busy but not accomplished? If that sounds familiar, comment below, I'm ready. Because the moment you become ready to change your mornings, you begin changing your life. Now, let me tell you something most people never realize. Your morning is not just the beginning of your day. Your morning is the direction of your day. The most successful people I've ever met understand this deeply. CEOs, entrepreneurs, athletes, leaders, they all guard their mornings with incredible discipline. Why? Because the first 60 minutes after you wake up set the emotional tone, the mental clarity, and the productivity level for the next 16 hours. If your morning begins with distraction, stress, or confusion, your brain stays in reaction mode. But if your morning begins with intention, clarity, and purpose, your brain shifts into creation mode. And that difference alone can change your results completely. Let me share something personal with you. There was a time in my early life when I was struggling badly. I had no direction. I worked labor jobs. I felt like everyone else was moving ahead while I was standing still. One morning I asked myself a simple question that ended up changing everything. What are successful people doing every day that I am not doing? That question started a lifelong study. I began reading biographies. I studied high achievers. I interviewed successful men and women across different industries. And something very interesting appeared again and again. Successful people start their mornings differently. Not perfectly, but intentionally. They don't wake up and drift into the day. They design the beginning of their day. And once I began practicing the same principle, my life began to change. Now here is the first thing I want you to do every morning if you're tired of failing. Before checking your phone, before opening social media, before letting the world pour noise into your mind, I want you to ask yourself one powerful question. What is the most important thing I can do today to move my life forward? Not 10 things, not everything, just one thing. Here's a fact most people never hear. Your brain performs best when it has a clear priority. When everything feels important, your brain becomes overwhelmed. You hesitate, you delay, you procrastinate. But when one task stands clearly above the rest, your mind locks onto it like a laser. I call this the main target principle. Every day must have a main target. And when you complete that one meaningful action, something powerful happens psychologically. You begin rebuilding your belief in yourself. You start proving to your own mind that progress is possible. Failure loses its grip the moment consistent progress begins. Now here's the second morning habit that changes everything. I want you to write down your goals. Yes, every morning. Not once a year. Not once a month. Every single morning. You take a notebook and you write down your top goals as if they are already happening. Let me explain why this matters. Your brain works like a targeting system. Whatever you repeatedly think about, write about, and visualize becomes the direction your mind starts searching for. Opportunities begin appearing. Ideas begin forming. Connections begin making sense. But when your goals lie only inside your head, they remain vague. And vague goals produce vague results. Writing your goals every morning forces clarity. And clarity is power. I have watched thousands of people transform their results simply by practicing this one habit for 90 days. 90 days, that's it. Because when you start each morning reminding yourself what you're building, you stop drifting through the day reacting to everyone else's priorities. Instead, you begin building your own future. Now let me ask you another question. Do you ever notice how easy it is to focus on problems the moment you wake up? Bills, deadlines, responsibilities. Your mind instantly starts replaying worries. That's normal. But successful people train themselves to do something different. Every morning they feed their mind with constructive input. I made this a daily ritual many years ago. Instead of immediately jumping into work, I spent time reading something positive, educational, or motivational. 10 minutes, sometimes 15. And here's the fascinating part. Those few minutes dramatically influenced the way I thought for the rest of the day. Instead of starting the day with stress, I started with perspective. Instead of starting with anxiety, I started with possibility. Your mind is like fertile soil. Whatever you plant in the morning tends to grow throughout the day. Negative input produces doubt. Positive input produces solutions. And when you combine learning with clear goals and focused priorities, you begin building a mindset that is naturally oriented towards success. Now there's another morning practice I strongly recommend if you're serious about changing your life. Movement. Your body and your brain are deeply connected. When you wake up and immediately sit still, your energy remains low. But when you move even lightly, your body begins releasing chemicals that sharpen focus and elevate mood. You don't need an intense workout, a walk, stretching, push-ups, anything that wakes up your physical system. Because when your energy rises, your motivation rises with it. And motivated people take action. Action is the bridge between intention and achievement. But here's the real secret behind all these morning habits. Consistency, not intensity. Many people get excited, try something new for 3 days, and then stop. That never works. Success doesn't come from dramatic bursts of motivation. It comes from simple daily disciplines repeated again and again. Let me say that again because it's important. Your life changes the moment your daily habits change. If you improve the first hour of your day, you eventually improve the results of your entire life. And this brings me to something I want you to think deeply about tonight before you go to sleep. Your future is not created in big dramatic moments. Your future is created in quiet daily decisions that nobody else sees. The decision to wake up with intention. The decision to write your goals. The decision to focus on one meaningful task. The decision to feed your mind with positive input. The decision to move your body. These things sound simple, but simple disciplines practiced consistently create extraordinary lives. And in the next part, I'm going to show you the deeper psychological shift that separates people who stay stuck from people who completely transform their trajectory. Because there is one mindset change that makes these morning habits unbelievably powerful. And once you understand it, you will never approach your mornings the same way again. But before we continue, I want you to do something right now. If this message resonates with you, if you're tired of feeling stuck, tired of repeating the same patterns, comment below with one word. Let me share something with you that changed the way I think about success forever. Most people believe failure is the result of a lack of talent, intelligence, or opportunity. They look at successful people and assume those people were somehow different from the start. But after studying high achievers for more than 40 years, I discovered something far more interesting. The real difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is how they start their day thinking, not their background, not their education, not their luck, their thinking patterns. Every morning, before the world has a chance to shape your mindset, you have a small window of time where you can shape it yourself. And that window is incredibly powerful, because your brain, when you first wake up, is highly receptive to suggestion and direction. In psychology, we sometimes refer to this as a transition state between sleep and full wakefulness. Your mind is calm. Your mental defenses are lower. And the thoughts you feed your mind during this time sink deeper into your subconscious. Now think about how most people spend that moment. They grab their phone. They scroll through messages. They look at bad news. They compare their lives to other people on social media. And before they even get out of bed, their mind is already filled with stress, distraction, and comparison. Then they wonder why they feel overwhelmed all day. But when you take control of that first hour, something remarkable begins to happen. You start programming your mind for progress instead of reaction. Let me tell you something I learned from some of the most productive people in the world. They rehearse success every morning. Yes, rehearse. They close their eyes for a few minutes and visualize their goals becoming real. They imagine the meetings going well. They imagine solving problems. They imagine finishing their most important tasks. They imagine becoming the person they want to be. Now, some people hear this and immediately think it sounds too simple, but there is a very powerful reason why visualization works. Your brain does not strongly distinguish between something vividly imagined and something actually experienced. When you picture yourself performing well, achieving goals, and overcoming obstacles, your brain begins forming the neural pathways necessary to support that behavior. In other words, you begin training your brain for success before the day even begins. Professional athletes do this constantly. Olympic competitors visualize their performance hundreds of times before they ever step into the arena. They mentally practice winning. They mentally practice staying calm under pressure. And when the real moment arrives, their brain has already experienced it. You can use the exact same strategy for your life. 5 minutes every morning, that's all it takes. Close your eyes and see yourself living the life you want to create. Not vaguely, clearly. Where are you working? What problems are you solving? What kind of person have you become? How do you carry yourself? How do you treat others? How disciplined are you? When you begin doing this consistently, you start aligning your behavior with the image in your mind. And that's when real transformation begins. Now let me share another truth that many people resist hearing. Your life will only improve when you improve, not when circumstances improve, not when luck arrives. When you grow stronger, clearer, and more disciplined. That's why your morning routine is not just about productivity. It's about identity. Every morning, you are casting a vote for the type of person you are becoming. When you wake up early and focus your mind, you are voting for discipline. When you write your goals, you are voting for clarity. When you move your body, you are voting for energy. When you work on your most important task first, you are voting for excellence. And when you repeat those votes every day, your identity begins to change. You stop seeing yourself as someone who struggles to stay consistent. You start seeing yourself as someone who executes. And once your identity shifts, your behavior becomes easier to maintain. Let me give you an example. Years ago, I worked with a young entrepreneur who felt stuck in his career. He had ideas, ambition, and talent, but his days were chaotic. He reacted to emails. He reacted to phone calls. He reacted to other people's demands. Every evening he felt exhausted but strangely unproductive. So I asked him to do something very simple. For 30 days he would start every morning with the routine we're discussing today. Write his goals. Identify his most important task. Visualize success. Spend a few minutes learning something useful. Move his body. And then begin work with his most important priority before anything else. 30 days later he came back and told me something fascinating. He said, "My life feels completely different, but nothing around me has changed." The market was the same. His clients were the same. His resources were the same. The only thing that changed was how he started his mornings. And that small shift began producing bigger results week after week. This is something you must understand if you're tired of failing. Your current habits produced your current results. Different habits produce different results. That's not theory. That's cause and effect. And mornings are the most powerful place to install those habits. Now here's another practice I strongly encourage every morning. Ask yourself this question. What would make today a success? Not perfection, just success. What 3 things, if completed today, would move your life forward? When you answer that question clearly, your day becomes focused. You stop chasing distractions. You stop reacting to everything. Instead, you begin executing your plan. Let me tell you something about successful people. They are not superhuman. They simply reduce unnecessary decisions. They already know what matters most, and that clarity protects their time and energy. Another thing I want you to begin doing every morning is something I call mental rehearsal for challenges. Because let's be realistic. Every day will bring obstacles, unexpected problems, difficult conversations, moments where motivation disappears. But if you anticipate these challenges ahead of time, you handle them far more effectively. So ask yourself in the morning, what challenges might appear today? Then immediately ask, how will I respond when they do? This small exercise builds emotional strength. Instead of being surprised by difficulty, you become prepared for it. And prepared people stay calm while others panic. This ability alone separates top performers from average performers. Calm thinking under pressure. And believe me, calm thinking begins with a calm mind, which is exactly what your morning routine is designed to create. Now here's something extremely important I want you to understand. Your morning should protect your focus. Focus is the most valuable mental resource you possess. But modern life constantly attacks it. Notifications, messages, breaking news, social media alerts. Every one of these things pulls your attention away from meaningful work. So if you want to dramatically increase your chances of success, you must protect the first part of your day from unnecessary distraction. No endless scrolling, no reactive communication, no mental clutter. Instead, give your mind the quiet space it needs to think clearly, because clear thinking produces better decisions. Better decisions produce better actions, and better actions produce better results. You see how everything connects? Success is not one big breakthrough moment. It is a chain of small disciplined decisions repeated daily. And the first link in that chain begins every morning. Now, let me ask you something again. How different would your life look 1 year from now if you started every day with purpose, clarity, and disciplined action? Think about that for a moment. 365 mornings, 365 chances to move your life forward. Most people waste those mornings without realizing how valuable they are. But you don't have to. In the final part of this message, I'm going to show you how to lock this routine into your life permanently. Because starting a habit is easy. The real challenge is making it unbreakable. And once your mornings become unbreakable, your results begin to compound in ways most people never experience. But before we move forward, I want you to answer this honestly in the comments. Which one of these morning habits do you feel would change your life the most right now? Writing your goals, visualizing success, protecting your focus, or identifying your most important task. Now let me tell you the real reason. KG. Most people fail to maintain powerful morning habits. It's not because they're lazy. It's not because they lack intelligence. And it's not because they don't want success badly enough. Most people fail because they rely on motivation instead of structure. Motivation is unreliable. Some mornings you feel excited. Some mornings you feel tired. Some mornings you feel doubtful. That's normal. Every human being experiences these emotional fluctuations, but disciplined people don't rely on how they feel. They rely on systems. A system removes the need to debate with yourself every morning. You don't wake up asking, should I do my routine today? You wake up knowing the answer is already decided. The routine is simply what you do. Let me share a simple strategy I've recommended to thousands of people. Prepare your morning the night before. Decide your most important task before you go to sleep. Write it down. Place your notebook somewhere visible. Prepare the environment that supports your routine. When you wake up, there is no confusion, no decision fatigue. You simply follow the path you already designed. This small action dramatically increases your consistency because every successful habit becomes easier when the environment supports it. Think about it. If your phone is the first thing you reach for, distraction wins. If your goals are the first thing you see, clarity wins. Your environment quietly shapes your behavior. And once you understand that, you can design your mornings for success. Now here is another powerful rule I live by. Win the first hour, win the day. Your first hour should belong completely to you. Not to the internet, not to other people's emergencies, not to random noise. That first hour is where you think, plan, grow, and focus. Even 30 minutes of intentional focus in the morning can produce more progress than an entire distracted afternoon. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine starting your day like this. You wake up, you take a few minutes to breathe and center your mind. You review your written goals. You visualize the future you are building. You move your body for energy. You identify the most important task of the day. And then you begin working on that task while your mind is still fresh. Do you see what just happened? Before most people have even finished scrolling their phones, you have already built momentum. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in human performance. Once you start moving forward, it becomes easier to keep moving forward. But when you start the day slowly, distracted, and unfocused, you spend the entire day trying to recover. That's why successful people guard their mornings so fiercely. They understand that mornings are not just time. Mornings are leverage. Now let me address something that might be in your mind right now. You might be thinking, this sounds great, but what if I've tried routines before and failed? That's a fair question. And the answer is simple. You don't need a perfect routine. You need a repeatable routine. Start small. Even 15 minutes can change your day. Write your goals. Choose your main task. Spend a few minutes learning something useful. Move your body briefly. That's enough to begin building momentum. Once the habit becomes natural, you can expand it. But the most important step is simply starting and repeating. Remember this principle. Small disciplines repeated consistently lead to great achievements gained slowly over time. Every extraordinary life is built this way, not overnight, but day by day, morning by morning. Now I want to talk about something deeper, something that truly separates people who transform their lives from those who stay stuck. Responsibility. At some point you must make a powerful decision. You must decide that the direction of your life is your responsibility, not your past, not your circumstances, not other people's opinions. Your future belongs to the actions you take every day. And the moment you fully accept that responsibility, you gain incredible power. Because if your actions created your current results, then new actions can create new results. And your morning routine is where those new actions begin. Every sunrise is a fresh opportunity to move closer to the life you want. Think about that. Tomorrow morning is another chance, another opportunity to take control, another opportunity to prove to yourself that progress is possible. You don't need a new year. You don't need permission. You just need to start. And once you start protecting your mornings, something amazing begins to happen. Your confidence grows. Your focus sharpens. Your productivity increases. And gradually, the feeling of constant failure begins to fade because you're no longer drifting through your life. You're steering it. Let me leave you with one final thought. Imagine two people starting today. The first person continues waking up randomly, reacting to the day, scrolling endlessly, hoping things improve. The second person commits to a powerful morning routine, writing goals, focusing on priorities, learning, moving, and taking intentional action. Fast forward 1 year, 365 mornings later. Do you think their lives will look the same? Of course not. The gap between them will be enormous. And that gap was created one morning at a time. This is why I believe so strongly in mastering the start of your day. Because when you master your mornings, you begin mastering your life. So here's what I want you to do starting tomorrow. Wake up with intention. Write your goals. Protect your focus. Move your body. Choose your most important task. And take action before distractions steal your attention. Do this consistently, and the results will begin to surprise you. Your life will not change overnight, but it will change. And one day you'll look back and realize something remarkable. You stopped failing the moment you started taking control of your mornings. Now I'd like to hear from you. If you're ready to take control of your mornings starting tomorrow, comment below with this phrase: